This is Ayman Khan here for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. With me is the one and only Adam Smith from Sky Sports to talk through Benn-Smith-Chamberlain card this weekend. Adam, it's great to see. Sounds something different. The kids would say it's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Yeah, it reminds me of KSI and Logan Paul. That was in Venice Beach. But Bournemouth Beach is just as good, isn't it? It's the summer seaside. We love a British summer. And good weather, and it's wonderful being here. As you say, great to have the sand underneath us, and brilliant to have Chris Billam-Smith defending his European title in front of his beloved fans. He's asked for this time and again. I know he asked when I was working with Eddie at Matchroom, he asked us then, and suddenly this sort of became available. Ben called me up and he said, look, we can do this fight down in Bournemouth. And the Manchester show was postponed with Hughie Fury, and I thought, you know what? Summer Seaside show would be good. I wasn't quite sure, I've got to be honest, at the beginning, why, weren't sort of pushing the boxer fighters top of the bill, and, they were linked in different ways. But you know what? It's a phenomenal fight. It's a great fight. It's a wonderful 50-50, and it's cruiserweights, and it's a great chance to push the likes of Ben Whittaker in his much anticipated debut, Fraser Clark, Caroline Dubois, and others, Joe Pigford, Hassan Azim, Mikel Owal. Great card, great chance for the boxer fighters, but I think it's a brilliant main event, absolutely brilliant main event, and it's one that Chris deserves being down here, and it's one Isaac deserves because he's waited for another opportunity. He reminds me of Johnny Nelson, Isaac Chamberlain, and I think Johnny's got a very big soft spot for Isaac. Now, I first got to know Isaac when he, literally, he was have gloves would travel, he was off to spar Wilder, he was sparring Usyk. He didn't have much backing, and he's fought the hard way. And I wouldn't say he froze against Lawrence Okoli, but obviously it was a bad night for him. And he's got another chance, and Johnny had chances, and I think it's great that he's knuckled down, he's had his difficulties, but he's coming again, and he's got nothing to lose. He's going into the Lion's Den, into the backyard. He's not the favourite of the fight. But I tell you what, he could spring an upset, Isaac. He'll certainly give Chris plenty to think about. I think it's a really good match, and I'm looking forward to it.
Very interesting. You mentioned how the fight came about and how it was presented, especially with Sky Sports and Boxer, the newly found partnership, which you've been pushing strongly with Sky Sports and pushing fighters at the forefront, giving young fighters opportunities. You mentioned Chris Billam-Smith wanting this fight, wanting that Bournemouth opportunity, and you, for a fighter who wants that, have been able to deliver that with Sky Sports and Boxer.
Yeah, look, I think Eddie would have delivered it. I think he wanted to come down here as well. Look, I mean, it's all about timing, isn't it? You want to come down in the summer. But, well done to Ben and Mick Hennessy and everybody involved in making this happen, because it sort of just rustled up together. As I said, the Manchester show, we needed another one in July. The championship starts this weekend as well. We're a week away from the Premier League. We wanted a final sort of boxer show before we thought it was going to be a quiet summer until AJ comes along, until September. And it made sense, and I think we all fancied a trip to the seaside, to be honest. Bucket and spade and all that, stick of rock, and here we are. It's just great, everyone's having a good time in the seaside in a British summer, especially when the sun's shining, which it is at the moment. It was wonderful today to see hundreds and hundreds of people turn up to the press event. And I'm sure they'll come to the weigh-in, and we know it's going to be banged out on the night. I think the atmosphere might be one of the best we've experienced in a long time. So, look, we don't need to sort of say, oh, we made it, they didn't. No, I think it was always going to happen for Chris Billam-Smith. Steve Bendel's been nagging me for ages, an old friend, very good fighter he was, to come down to Bournemouth. And, the likes of Joe Pigford obviously down the road. And yes, there was always a chance to come to the South Coast. I'm glad we're here.
Ben Whittaker, someone who features prominently on the undercard. Ben, obviously, Boxer Sky Sports wanted the signature alongside a lot of other promotional outfits, but Sky Sports have got it. You've seen a lot of talent come through. Adam, how far can Ben Whittaker go?
I think Ben can go a long way. I think he's very, very exciting. He's got huge talent and huge personality. You put those two ingredients together, there's one of them missing. Dedication and hard work, and I believe he's got that as well. Floyd Mayweather, in my opinion, was the best fighter certainly I've ever seen live. He's also the best fighter in the gym. He was also the most dedicated. I think with the talent you've got to have dedication, with the dedication you've got to have talent. If you've got the mixture of both, and I think that works for the best fighter in my opinion over here. Maybe take Lennox Lewis to one side. Lennox was amazing, but Joe Calzaghe, probably my favourite fighter, and one of the greatest since the war. And he, again, talent with utter dedication. And I think Ben has got both. I'm not saying he's going to be anything like as good as those guys. There's a long, long journey ahead, a long way to go. But I like his attitude. He believes he's going to become a British great. He's got plenty of talent. He's got, skills, beautiful skills. He's very flashy, in and out of the ring. He's got that Marmite attitude, which some are going to love, some are going to hate. I think you're going to get something different with him each and every time. Ring walks, attitude, vibe. He's got a great trainer in Sugar Hill. He's wearing the gold Kronk colours, which I love. He was the hardest Olympian to get over the line. And I guess the one with maybe the most satisfying. I don't know, for me, they were all satisfying. Caroline was so early. Fraser, he was very torn. And Fraser's very important in other ways because he's a bit of a leader of the pack. And he's obviously going to be a great talent too. But for me, Karis and Lauren were very, very important to get. So that was a real battle. That was a personal one. I was kept going on and on to Ben at. But Ben Whittaker was the toughest. And we had I just saw his dad actually today and waved to him. He's great, his dad. We've had a few meetings, but there was one at Nando's that was particularly. It was great because we were in that sort of last chance saloon, and it was a chance for Ben and I to really, me to sell the Sky side, and Ben was brilliant that day. And I think they were more interested in ordering the chicken. And I love Nando's because I've got kids and I'm always there. And I was too nervous to even eat. And I was just like, I want him to hear my side and Ben wanted to hear. Anyway, we did our bits and then we didn't even eat. And I think, the Whittakers got on with the eating side of it. So maybe they owe us one in, when we can actually all eat together. But that was, and then we thought we'd lost him. So it was a big battle, but it was a battle we won. And I think the battle now starts for Ben Whittaker to become a superstar of British sport. He's got the potential, he's got a chance, he's got the talent, I think he's got the dedication, and I think he's got the charisma. So it's all there for him. It's now up to him and us. He's got 258, he's got Ben's brilliant boxer outfit, he's got Sky, he's got everyone behind him, he's got Sugar Hill. It's all there. It's all there for Ben Whittaker. Let's see.
Adam, just to move away from this card, you mentioned about winning big battles. Won a big battle in terms of the broadcasting rights for Usyk-AJ 2. Just your thoughts on that being landing on Sky. Must be very happy with that. And then also talk about the price point. The price point's been raised to a new price point. Could you talk me through that decision?
Yeah, it's fantastic news that we've got the Usyk-AJ 2 compelling clash on Sky. We've obviously covered all of Anthony's fights since he turned professional. We were obviously upset that he chose to sign a big deal with DAZN, but he goes with our great wishes because, as with every boxer, you've got to take opportunities, and he still loves Sky. So we found an opportunity to, the Saudis had the global rights, Skill Challenge, and the government, so we had an opportunity to be part of that negotiation, and we battled hard, and we're very pleased to have come through and take the fight. It's a fight I think that's made for Sky Sports box office, not just because of our relationship with AJ, but our relationship with Alexander and his team. He's appeared many times on Sky. They are two families that we know well, and we believe that we're the best platform by a long way to provide, the razzmatazz, the sparkle, the programming, the content, the social and digital output. The arsenal of the business that Sky has, and we've got just 3.5 weeks to get on with it and do it. As far as the price point, look, it's hard always to pay for boxing events. When I was in America and lived out there, I paid $80-90 for pay-per-view. We've never been on that sort of level. It's always been lower. There's an increase. I think, look, for big fights, and this is a bigger fight than it was last year because there's more on the line. I think it's a big and expensive business. We always put our customers first. We always look for value for money. We've had enormous amounts of good Sky Sports fights on this year. Big expensive fights. Eubank Williams people thought would be a pay-per-view fight. Taylor against Cattrall. A lot of people thought the Clarissa Shields Savannah Marshall would be pay-per-view. We've kept all of those on Sky Sports. Calm Brook had the glitter. of a box office event, and we did good numbers. We expect to do big numbers on this. It's a big, big fight, and ultimately that's what the business decided, and that's what it is. There's a really good card. It's a great main event, and it's the pick of the fights this year. And if you want to watch it, you'll watch it. And I think that our customers, will, because they know that we deliver, and trust me, we'll go beyond over the next 3.5 weeks to get as much as we can into a compelling build-up and tell a great story and a great tale. But it is expensive, boxing now. It's a very expensive business, and we've gone in and we've won a fight, and now we're going to deliver it in all its glory on Sky. And let's hope it's a fight, a night to remember, and let's hope everyone does tune in and get behind AJ to become a 3-time heavyweight champion, or all the Ukrainians out there. And there'll be a lot of love, of course, around the world for Alexander Usyk, and a lot of love for Usyk anyway in boxing. We all love him. He's brilliant. They're great characters, great personality. It's a wonderful story with so many questions to be answered. Which way is it going to go? Who's going to maybe tempt Tyson Fury out of retirement? Because while he's in quotes, retirement, and in my eyes the best heavyweight in the world, if he's taking out the bins in Morecambe, and that's what he wants to do at the moment, and he's retired, then we've got to say that the winner of this fight is, for now, the best heavyweight in the world. Usyk is in that position. If Usyk wins, there'll be the clamour to fight Fury. If Joshua wins and becomes a 3-time champion, that makes the Fury fight probably bigger than ever. It's great times for heavyweight boxing. Sky want to be part of it. When we saw an opportunity, we're all disappointed. We're on the ropes after AJ chose his own, a little bit. But we saw an opportunity, we battled hard, the business supported us, and we're going to deliver an incredible night.
A couple of questions on that. First of all, you mentioned it seems happy with the card. Can Sky or boxing in any sort of way influence the card any further with additions to the card at all, do you know?
It's difficult because, of course, there's a lot of deals that have gone on here with the Saudis buying out the global rights, Matchroom obviously, 258. There's different elements. Usyk's team have fighters on the card. I believe Callum Smith's on, Filip Hrgovic I've heard, Ramla Ali, which is brilliant, and I think Badou Jack's on it. I think Ben Whittaker might be. I think we're going to try and get Ben Whittaker on it, which is fantastic. I think 258, as we speak, working that out, which will be brilliant for us. So yeah, it'd be nice if Fraser Clark could get on it, or another one. I think 258 would like Shannon Ryan on. That would be good. But fantastic having Ramla on there. Adore Ramla Ali. She's absolutely brilliant. And Callum Smith as well, being Liam's brother. So there's lots of connections, and he'll be working with Eddie and Frank, our old mates. So bring it on. It's only the families, your family and my family, that miss out in the summer because we're travelling around the world without them in summertime. We're not very popular, but there we go. This is the business we work in.
You mentioned there, which is the second part of the question, working back with Eddie again. Delightful in prospect?
Delighted. I can't wait. And that's absolutely true. I love Eddie. I love Ben. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I enjoy working with everyone, whether it's Frank Warren, Kalu Sauerland, Frank Maloney back in the day, Ricky Hatton, Mick Hennessy. It's a small business. Frank Warren's a brilliant promoter, Bob Arum's a brilliant promoter, Don King, Eddie Hearn, they're all brilliant promoters. I work with Ben Shalom. I want to try and help him become another brilliant promoter, and he's done fantastically well in the last year. He's entrepreneurial, he's bright, he cares about fighters, he works non-stop. There's so many good things about Ben, and there's so many things he needs to learn still, but he's doing terrifically well. He's got a fantastic team at Boxer, which is growing. Look where they've come from. They had a few tournament shows, and they've got the keys to the door at Sky. They got some money, and it was up to them to try and make it work. And they're putting on these different events. They've got a real vibe to them. The shows are looking fantastic. Hats off to Baz and the whole team, Johnny Wish and everybody. They've done brilliantly well. I'm loving working with Ben. I'm loving working with Top Rank and Todd DeBurf, Todd and Brad and Carl and all the team. Absolutely fantastic. guys and girls at Top Rank too. You know, we've got the Michaela relationship with that. We've had phenomenal fights on from Top Rank. Boxer have delivered great fights already this year. And look, I'm really pleased at where we've got to in a year. Does it mean that suddenly we all fall out? No, Eddie and Frank and I go back a long way. And of course, they're going to look after their business and they're going to say what they say in interviews and all the rest of it. But we'll all get on great. And, you know, I still work on the darts and, you know, Barry's great. And I owe a lot to Barry and Eddie Hearn, you know, for the days for Sky and Matchroom. So after a few weeks of Eddie leaving, last summer we worked on the first fight, and that was fine. That was great. You know, we all got on with it, and we'll all get on with it again. And if Ben's on the card, there'll be Boxer representatives over there, whether it be Ben or Baz or John. They'll all be over there, and everyone will be getting on with it. And I'm sure Eddie and his team will be with Vanguard at September the 10th. And they'll all come to that. And listen, September the 10th, what a night for women's boxing. What a night for women's sport. Do you know what would be amazing? If Casey Taylor came and did a little 8-rounder, or Chantel Cameron, or Terry Harper, or they were all there. And I absolutely love that. This is a universal night to celebrate women's sport. Those are the sort of things we've got to be thinking of, working together. Of course there's agendas, of course there's different promoters, of course there's different businesses. But ultimately, it's a small business. And I, for one, cannot wait to see Eddie and Frank in Saudi and see all my old friends from Matchroom, as well as my new friends from Boxer.
A couple of things I want to brush through, cognizant of some time. Seeing old family, seeing old friends, talk and whispers about a potential Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr., which bring in Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. into the fold. Your thoughts on that fight, first of all?
It's a fight I've always thought would happen since I saw Conor Benn in the ringside studio when he was about 15. And Nigel went, "You want to watch my son? He can really punch." And I thought, okay. So I've kept my eye on Conor for a long time. Obviously, Chris, you know, has proven himself as a very, very good fighter. And I think, I've said this in other interviews, I would like that fight in 18 months' time. Am I going to watch it if it happens tomorrow? Of course I am. It's a fantasy fight that's becoming more and more reality. And if it's huge money for the fighters, then they've got to look at it seriously. I'd love to do it on Sky. I'd love to build it. I'd love it to be in 18 months' time when Conor's maybe developed a bit more in his own division, possibly sort of fought or won a world title at welterweight, and then maybe even goes up. And Chris has a couple of fights, as we mentioned earlier, Liam Smith and other fighters like that, Demetrius Andre. There's possibly, you know, the winner or loser of Canelo and Golovkin. There's other fights to be made as well. But the Conor Benn fight's a big fight, obviously. Benn-Eubank, a huge fight for the casuals whenever it happens. But I just think it needs stewing a bit more, it needs building it a bit more, and I think they'll make more money out of it down the line. So I'd like to see it happen a little bit later on, maybe, you know, back in the next year, but you know, these things can happen quickly, and it could happen, as I'm hearing, as early as October. So we'll see. But for me, it's one that I'd like to see a little bit down the line. I'd like to see Conor and Chris just, you know, navigate their careers slightly separately for a while.
Just going back to Anthony Joshua, a thought that came through my head. Did you see his comments about not getting respect, and after he'd galvanised, in his opinion, the heavyweight division, and then if he was to win the rematch against Usyk, he'd dash away the belts and wouldn't concern himself with that? Your thoughts on those comments? Look,
I think every fighter you know, looks at themselves and also looks at criticism, and you know, it's a difficult world now with social media and everything so prevalent, and you know, even someone like Anthony Joshua, who's such a lovely guy, such a great guy, such an amazing role model. You know, they've got feelings, and they've got a competitive nature too. You know, he's a 2-time heavyweight champion. It's up to him to decide what he wants to do. The first thing he's got to try and do is right the wrong. And was it a wrong, or was just Alexander Usyk better, and is better than Anthony Joshua? I mean, the southpaw style worried me a bit before the first one, because he'd only had a round and a half of southpaw professional boxing against Charles Martin, and Alexander Usyk is an unbelievable southpaw. And I mean, hopefully he's had more time to think about that. He's got a new trainer, Robert Garcia. Rob McCracken did an amazing job for him, so that's different. Everything's new. You know, he's got to try and win this fight. That's the most important thing. Never mind the sort of the difficulties of the respect, and I remember when they were bellowing out two time in Riyadh, and they might well do the same thing if you can overcome this with the 3-time thing, and you've got to respect him. You know, if he goes in, Lennox Lewis went in twice with Oliver McCall and Hasim Rahman and exacted revenge, and they're the only 2 fighters that beat him. And he did it and became a 3-time champion. If AJ can do it with Andy Ruiz and altogether, I think a much harder task in Alexander Usyk, much harder, especially with the shape Ruiz turned up in. But Alexander Usyk is a premium elite fighter, and it's going to be a lot harder. But if Joshua does that, massive respect if he can turn over Alexander Usyk and become a 3-time champion, 100%. So let's just wait and see. He'll always have my respect, AJ. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he's got nothing to prove to anyone. What he proves to me is what a warrior he is. He never ducks anybody. He always wants to fight anyone. He doesn't care. He says he'll fight Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury on the same night. He doesn't care. Obviously, it's not business. People around him they've got to look after him and whatever. But he doesn't. You try and take him on at chess. He does not like losing. He wants to win at everything. That's great. You can't knock people like that. I think he's been amazing for our sport, AJ. Win or lose this fight, absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to work with him again. And I can't wait to look back at his career. Olympic gold medalist, transformed boxing as we know it in Britain, stadium fights, and a 2-time heavyweight champion. And been in some of the most exciting fights we've seen, that Klitschko fight. And still people are on his back. Maybe he's not as good as Usyk. We'll find out. But even if he isn't, please, if he is, and he can beat Usyk, wow, that'd be something, wouldn't it?
Final question for me, a bit of a fun one. Johnny Nelson's always come out with some controversial, fun statements. Usyk being an average southpaw, I asked Johnny Nelson versus Alexander Usyk at cruiserweight, who would win? Johnny Nelson said, Johnny Nelson.
That doesn't surprise me. Johnny Nelson wasn't an average southpaw or an average orthodox fighter. He was a wonderful switch hitter who didn't entertain us very much because he was dull and boring. But actually did once in a while he knocked someone out. But he was absolutely brilliant. Look at his face. I mean, he's not got a mark on him. 65 fights. He was an absolute legend. Johnny Nelson was a very underrated fighter. And his story is unique, the way he went through the trials and tribulations. I don't know any other fighter that loses 3 professional fights, lost 10 out of 13 as an amateur, and ended up doing what he did and becoming a world champion and reigning for 7.5 years. Of course, he'll back himself to beat Alexander Usyk. A few years ago, he wanted to come out of retirement with dodgy knees and dodgy hips to fight Marco Huck. And I said, absolutely not, you'll get destroyed. If he fought Alexander Usyk, he would get absolutely destroyed. Johnny Nelson at his peak against Alexander Usyk might not be the most exciting clash, but it would be a very interesting one. Alexander Usyk is most certainly not an average southpaw. He's a brilliant, outstanding southpaw. I will never agree with my friend and colleague on that. I don't know what he was talking about. Maybe he was thinking about himself and how he'd beat Usyk. Usyk might be unbeatable as a professional boxer. Have we thought that yet? If he beats Joshua, can he beat Fury? Everyone says, oh, Fury's too big. Everyone said Joshua was too big for Usyk. Again, Fury would start favourite. Of course he would. Alexander Usyk had nearly 400 amateur fights. Didn't lose very many. Southpaw. Very, very good.
Adam, pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for speaking to Boxer Social. All the best for the weekend.
Cheers, no problem.
Cheers, thank you.